taste is such a personal thing, and so trying to be objective and taking away from that, I think I could more fairly say that these are all great wines and that Cremona deserved to be amongst them. I think two things. I suppose first of all is the premium quality, i.e. has it been well made? And that's one way of looking at it. But I think for me, a more important thing is actually that it's expressing where it has come from. And not necessarily through the varieties, that can come through it, but I think actually it's more the sense of place, and to a certain extent also the personality of the people making it as well. Because of course Chardonnay and Pinot Noir do make great sparkling wines, but they're not the only grapes. And I think in some regions, should they necessarily use those? I think sometimes other varieties might work better. So yes, they're not the only ones by any means. It's probably the one premium variety I still don't quite understand. I'm not sure does anybody fully understand what it can bring, but I'm aware though that I think without it, I don't think you can produce a great carver. It brings, from the little I understand it, a breadth. Longevity I think is too simple thing. I think that's part of the breadth that it does to it. It's a grape that I think I would like to understand more, and I think others too who are serious about understanding carver could understand more. So yes, that's a journey I still need to go on. Aging in wine generally, in sparkling wines in particular, can be a two-edged sword. On the whole, the greater wines are wines that have been made that have a long aging within the process and also are capable of developing afterwards. I think that after the wine's been made and that process and how they mature afterwards is important and is sometimes overlooked, not just in the making of it. Some wines can't cope with long aging, but we'll leave those aside. The wines that Cremona make are, and so yes, on the whole, I think the greater wines are those that have either incorporated long aging within the making and then are capable of long aging subsequently. I think what Cremona has been doing as part of that is, it seems almost from the off, aiming for quality in terms of the grape varieties that they wanted to use, and also in the processes. The obvious one would be in the length of time for aging and having a minimum aging time. And then more recently, in part with also what's been happening within the world of wine as well, and I don't want to separate sparkling wine from the rest of the wine world, it's a part of it. Sparkling wines are wines that happen to have bubbles in. And a lot of that has been to do with what's happening in vineyards and wineries, be it around organics, biodynamics, all of those things trying to improve on excellence, as well, of course, the various things that Cremona has been doing within Carver itself. What I really remember actually of tasting Cremona actually would have been at Cremona, and I'm almost certain it was the first time I'd had the 2001, is it the Celle Bathier? And I think that, is, for me, is probably my carver moment, if you like. And I think that probably would have been the most mature carver I had had. This combination of both freshness and maturity. And it's maturity rather than age, which for me I think is an important distinguishing quality in sparkling wines in particular, in that I don't think there are many regions that produce wines that mature well, and this showed me that this could, and was still on its journey. I think that was probably my carver moment. That's what I remember. An invitation to a tasting comparing or tasting carver alongside other top sparkling wines from around the world, with a room full of some wonderfully talented people, from be they sommeliers, buyers, journalists, and these wonderful wines, and tasting them blind. It was a fascinating tasting, And that's so in one or two of the classes, I think there were two, I'd put the Gramona one on top. And I suspect, I'm sure, some of my reasons people might not agree with, but the overwhelming thing that I came back from and took from that tasting was that Gramona was the equal of these other great sparkling wines. I hate saying the best. I'm often asked in my profession by customers which is the best, and I think taste is such a personal thing, and so trying to be objective and taking away from that, I think I could more fairly say that these are all great wines and that Gramona deserve to be amongst them. Premium, certainly. I think it must have been, I've tasted other top carbs before, but tasting Gramona I think does actually feel different to the others. It was a notch up, and I think not just because of the longer age, the minimum aging that you have, so premium. Adventurous, actually, something which I didn't really understand properly understand until visiting and seeing the work you're doing with the winery, but also with the wines, and then hearing about the works with the biodynamics in the vineyards and things. All of that pushing the envelope of what Cava could do, both within the region, but also as well in comparison with other sparkling wines around the world. And I think the other thing actually is joy, actually. Sparkling wines, at the end of the day, I can be very geeky about everything that goes into it, but at the end of the day, sparkling wines I think have to be enjoyable. I mean, they are joy, so yes, joy too. Behind the science, there is definitely joy.